back at the Her Four Wheels channel. We are working on the 1897 BMW. Like and subscribe, and let's get back into the build.
You have reached the voicemail box of...
What up, Block fam? Welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be working on the BMW E36. So for those of you that don't know about the BMW E36, if you're just joining us, I ended up scooping up this car for really cheap. Found it used on Facebook Marketplace for like $3,000. Hella cheap. However, there's a good amount of stuff wrong with it. We've gone through and we've corrected a lot of stuff. There was a fuel leaks. Previous owner didn't use the correct fuel line on the filter, so it was leaking under pressure. So we got that all replaced, stopped the fuel leak. There was quite a large oil leak. That has slowed down a lot, but it is still burning oil and is still leaking oil out of the valve cover and dripping down onto the headers, and so it's burning, which every now and then you get a pretty good whiff. That's what we're gonna be tackling today. We've also got a couple issues back here. We've got some body issues, which is some rust because it was a Northern owned car, but we're just gonna throw a wide body on it and like cut all of this out. Just wide body panel, throw some larger fenders on there. In today's episode, I'm gonna be tackling the idle control valve, so the ICV valve. We gotta get underneath the manifold for that. Let me go ahead and we'll drop down the car because it's definitely weird, like squeezing through. This is an issue as well. Not much room between there and the back of the car. By putting in these countertops, we pretty much did away with like an extra 2 foot. I didn't originally plan on working on cars in here. We built it out to work on motorcycles, and there's plenty of room to work on motorcycles, but as soon as you throw a car in here, man, they take up a lot more room, you know? I'm not gonna be working underneath it. We do need to bring it down. I am not that tall. Gotta get this stuff out of the way first. The paint is just pristine. I think I might have scratched it. My bad, guys. Much more room. Hooray. Well, let's get some light in here. I do need to get to the idle control valve as well, which is way back in there. Nope. Oh, it's back in there. Damn. Oh, shit. This piece, as per looking on the bottom, is leaking a good amount of oil, which I think that's like what the Vanos or whatever the I would say before valve train, let's do ICV valve, because that's what's giving me the most problems. Every now and then it'll shut off. Whenever it does kind of like mess up, it makes the car sound like it has a cam, because it'll be like boom, 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 boom. This is the new idle control valve. If you've got a like a rough idle, people will basically take these out, and all you have to do is clean them on some of them. I'm gonna just go ahead and replace mine, because the one that's in there I would assume is probably the one that came with the car, and the car's from '94, so I'm just gonna go ahead and replace this. The way that you can tell if your old one is gummed up is if you shake it, it won't have that sound. It'll basically be stuck. So this one's brand new. Electrical connector there, and then 2 spots for vacuum lines there. You've also got this connector that is going to go into the manifold, and then this tube, which is going to be coming off of the ICV. So I have a 94, and I've found that this car is different than a lot of people that have made videos out there. So this is still OBD1. I think it was what, like 95 or 96 that went to OBD2, and they did have some changes. So this is 94, the current ICV right there. There's the electric connection coming out of the front. A lot of people will say just remove the manifold, but I'm gonna do it without it. All we have to do is remove the intake. So I think we should be okay. If you have one of these cars, they're getting up there in age, and all the rubber just crumbles. So I'm gonna have to be really careful. I had to replace this line actually already, so this is new, but this one is not new, and that basically runs to the plug that goes into the manifold right there, which is this plug right here. So we're going to be replacing that as well. Tube that goes around the top, this one right here, that is that tube there. So let's go ahead and get started removing the intake, the MAF, all this stuff, the throttle body, so that we can basically get under the manifold. So this is the new one. It's going to replace that piece. Yeah, things definitely gummed up. So a lot of times you can just take carb cleaner, clean these out, but you hear the difference. So that's definitely gummed up. That's free flowing. All right, so we got the new one all set up. New ICV, new rubber on both sides. So it's gonna set in under the manifold pretty much like this. We'll plug in to the electrical harness. This will go around into the underside of the intake manifold, and this will go to the intake tube. Harness plugged back in, which you guys can see right here. We also got it back in the little rubber holder thing, which is this. Put it in with both of the tubes good to go. So that one is plugged in to the under part of the manifold there. Got this going into the valve train. Also got the other line plugged back in. So that's good. Now it's just reassembly. Everything is back in, intake, cruise control, most important part right there. Vacuum lines are all good, blow by, MAF sensor. That thing looking pretty and new in there. So let's go ahead, we'll crank her up. Fingers crossed that she runs fine. I left this part out. Came with the car when I bought it, but it is just freaking wrecked. It was like the little box that filter sets in for the intake, but look at this. It's just flaking, disgusting, gross. Worse than it was before, but I did forget to disconnect the battery, so let's try that. Battery disconnected, fingers crossed. Well, that ain't good. Let's disconnect the MAF, see if that helps. Well, it could just be my MAF. If you guys were interested in how to replace your PCV, that's how you do it. I'm gonna go ahead and get some MAF cleaner, clean that off, see if it works, and if not, I'm gonna replace that, which is a cheap, easy fix too. I don't have to crawl under the intake manifold. Continuing on the Beamer trend of fix one thing and the next thing goes wrong. You. I ended up ordering a MAF, which is brand new. It's the entire assembly, and we're gonna replace that, see if it fixes it. Right now, I've currently been running it with the MAF unplugged, which it runs, but it doesn't run the best. It actually dies, especially like after you're shifting. So went ahead, ordered this one on eBay for like $26 or something. Let's take that one out and we'll do a little side-by-side comparison. All right, here they are. Pretty darn similar. This one just doesn't have the Bosch stuff on the side, so this one says Bosch and it has the airflow direction. Otherwise, they look just about spot on. There's this additional clip, which I don't think I'm gonna need to transfer over because it's not connecting to anything. So let's just go ahead, get this one replaced. All right. She's on, she's plugged in. Battery reset, fingers crossed, I'm not hopeful. I am so f***ing over this car. There can't be a vacuum leak. I literally tightened the shit out of everything. All right, welcome back to repairing or trying to get the box running. Still having idle issues despite it being fixed for like a week, and now it's back to not idling. Went by German Autosport gas in Sanford, Florida. One of the things you noticed was the vacuum line on the backside of the throttle body was missing, which goes to the fuel pressure regulator. So if that's not pulling vacuum, then whenever the idle goes down, there's no vacuum to keep that fuel coming in, and it does. So I got one over there. We're taking off the intake manifold. We're replacing the vacuum line there on the back. While we have the intake manifold off, I'm also going to be replacing the oil line here, and then after that we're going to be focusing on the upper valve train, redoing that gasket as well because it is leaking. We're also going to plug the blow-by line here, and then we're just going to go run this and vent it externally. Whole big table of parts. Jess, her two wheels hanging out in the garage down here for the Sanford Seminole Harley-Davidson meet and greet.
I'm babysitting.
Keeping track of Zuko for me. All right, so let's go over parts list. Replacing the oil line right there. We've also got the gaskets. We've got a sensor as well. I got a bunch of this stuff from FCP Euro. I'm sure to drop links down in the description below if you guys want to do any of this stuff. But a lot of this was sold as a kit. So like this was sold as one kit, comes with all the hardware that you need, the banjo bolts, the copper washers, gaskets, the line. I also bought an oil change kit, same one as I used last time around, but the car's been burning oil. So no, it's been burning oil. It's been leaking oil that's been dripping onto the headers, which has been burning. It's actually kind of convenient because it doesn't get on my driveway. It just drips on the headers and then burns up, and I don't have to deal with it on the ground. So perk. We do have the manifold gaskets here, the main gasket for the throttle body, O-rings, and then new hardware. This is one of the pieces that was a little weird that I ordered, but this is a coolant tube or a cooling tube for the alternator, which this is the first car that I've ever seen that on. This is the vacuum line in question that we're going to be replacing, so fuel regulator line. Spark plugs, because if we're taking the upper valve train off to replace the valve cover gasket, then why not go ahead and do the spark plugs? And then we got all the hardware as well for that. So this is sold as a kit, basically all of this stuff. This was a kit, this was a kit, this was a kit. Starting disassembly, you guys will notice that I do have a lot of the intake off. I was trying to get to that vacuum line and went ahead and removed this part of the intake, so with the MAF and all that and the filter. So we'll set that to the side. We do have the Beamer World elbow that basically goes onto the throttle body. But with this, like I said, I'm going to be venting the crankcase blow-by. Instead of it going back into here, we're just going to go ahead and vent it to atmosphere. So I'm going to remove this hose. We're going to have it go over through here. And I do have a plug for one of those openings. The other one is a vacuum line, which is the bottom one here. And that goes to the idle control valve, so the ICV, which you guys know previously I did replace that. Oh yeah, so you guys can see that the alternator cooling tube thing doesn't look quite the same. I think this one was trimmed and cut, but like look how just brittle, and that's terrible. Yeah, let's get to it. And we got the manifold out, and there's a lot more people in the garage since I stopped recording because they decided to jump in, and there was like 8 hands in the engine bay. So we got the manifold out, but we did have to disconnect this part from the firewall piece that extends up, and it actually slides down into here. So there's like a bolt here, 2 bolts here. Yeah, definitely should. So basically slides in, and then you remove that, you're able to lift the wiring bundle here up enough to lift the manifold up and out. Once we got the manifold out, cleaned out all of the above the valves, we found, like, what was it, dog treats? Definitely like an animal, like rats or mice or something, that were bringing dog food and dog treats and stuff, and like getting in between, like all in these, because there was like little dog treats and stuff. So whenever we pulled that off, some of that fell into here, but we just got some compressed air, and then Eric went through with a nylon brush and brake cleaner and scrubbed all this, cleaned it all up.
I'm not gonna lie. I saw those dog treats and I got hungry.
The part that I thought was the issue was the fuel pressure regulator line. So it's this one here. So I went ahead and I actually removed it already. And it doesn't look like it's in too bad of shape, but it is like super thin. And if it's not the line, then it's probably the actual fuel pressure regulator. I've got the new line to go from there to there, and then we'll basically plug that back in. The O-ring in there looks great. This is a temperature sensor, so I've got a new one of those as well.
Give me O-rings. Oh, that's so cool. Hey, all right.
Couple washers, new banjo bolts. All right, so just to update you guys, we capped off this coolant line literally with like these little caps, so I'll drop a link in the description below, and used a hose clamp around it from West that is steel and not Harbor Freight, so it clamped down all the way. Hooray, yeah. West Depot. Eric's replacing the Vanos line. One thing that he found while doing this was that
it's missing a washer on the bottom down here.
So these are banjo bolts, right? So they're hollow bolts. So you're supposed to have a copper washer on both sides, so at the head and then also against the threaded part where the left and right.
It was missing the inside one right here.
Yeah,
down here
on the top or on the bottom.
On the bottom.
On the bottom. Reno's taking off the valve cover. So I went ahead and replaced the O-ring that's in here. That is for the end of this vacuum line. Also replaced the vacuum line, or so for the fuel pressure regulator. I am going to, like I said, call O'Reilly and see if I can get another one of those. This is obviously way too long to bridge the gap between those two, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it. This piece does come off. There we go. Everything looks pretty good in here. So we should have replacement gaskets for all of these. Boop, boop, boop.
The tip itself actually looks good. So
yeah, it doesn't look too bad. All right, guys, we got some Laser Platinum NGK premium plugs.
It's okay if she does it. It's not okay.
4 times the spark.
That's not
All right, so valve cover gasket is off, and it doesn't look clean, but it's been cleaned. This just is, you know. We do have to remove all of these, which go underneath the nuts that go on the top to tighten down. Replace them with these nice new crispy ones.
Maybe. Yes.
Not supposed to be hard plastic.
Pitch black, like entering the void.
All right, new gasket and valve cover, which we removed all the rocks from. Seriously.
way harder than they should be.
Yeah. I would much rather not put this back on there like that, is what it is. You gotta do what you gotta do. All right, I can't remember what the last part that we filmed was. I think we were tightening these down. So we got the good old crusty valve cover back on. Coils back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to get a new fuel pressure regulator, which I'm gonna go pick up at Magic Mall. For those of you that know Magic Mall here in Orlando, I'm hoping I don't die. One of the fuel pressure regulators at the O'Reilly over there, but it's a pretty sketchy area. So I'm gonna go there, grab that, and hopefully finish this tomorrow. Jess will not be here. Reno will be working. Eric will also be working, and Wes will also be working. And I too will be working on this because I'm taking tomorrow off. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. And we are back working on the BMW. Got another homie in the garage. Welcome, Alan. Every time he comes here, we put him to work. A new fuel pressure regulator, Bosch. I'll be sure, like I said, to drop all the parts, links and all that stuff down in the description below. OEM fuel pressure regulator out, which was a huge total transparency here. We did manage to bend the setting of it a little bit, but not bad enough to where the snap ring won't fit back in. So we'll make sure it's nice and set. There you go, nice and mangled, because it was a huge. So yeah, there you go, old and busted, and hotness. So we're gonna use just some dielectric grease to make sure that sets in and seals well. This is all cleaned out. Couldn't find anything on the internet going over this, which, you know, for as popular as these cars are getting, you would expect to find something like this, but literally you just have to pull that thing out. We took the caps off here so that we wouldn't be fighting pressure. I think we were still fighting the pressure of the fuel though. If you guys can drain that completely, that would probably help rather than fighting that pressure. Cool. Hell yeah. Snap ring. Bam. Vacuum. Don't fail. New gaskets for the manifold. On the cylinder side, we got a couple things to reconnect on this line that goes from the top crankcase, so here to there, which is going to be this one here, so that plugs in, and then this runs under, goes to there, fuel lines there, connect there. The idle control valve here, which goes to there. So we do have most everything connected underneath. Get over there. Fuel lines, temperature sensor. We've got the fuel pressure regulator on the back, brake booster, idle control valve, and the crankcase line as well, which is that one right there. Now we are tightening down the manifold nuts. Just like that. Most of it's back together. We haven't put on the little rear firewall piece or the windshield dash trim. That's actually one of the first things that should have happened. Windshield wipers off, lower trim dash, and then the firewall. We are going to try to crank it. Fingers crossed that it starts. It'll probably take a little bit for the fuel to basically get back into the fuel rail and prime, and hopefully we've got enough battery to get them cranks.
Come on, baby. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, he's got the magic touch over here. Jeez.
Bro, that's it.
Yeah? Sounds, he's like humming along right now, bud.
Yeah, you just got to take up a little bit of that slack so that it's actually like... Ooh, maybe not.
Did you disconnect the battery at all?
No.
I don't think that would hurt.
All right, we disconnected the battery, cranked right up. No foot on gas, no foot on throttle, running. Was it the clutch for the AC compressor kicking on? So it's not dying whenever you rev it up now.
I think that's
it?
a win to me.
All right, so we're gonna shut it off. We're gonna get that back together and then take it for a drive. All right, we gassed up. Let's see if this thing will get up to speed, run for a bit. I can like stop and it not die and shit. Guys, so a longer term follow-up. Did I solve the idle problems for good? Yes, but there was a thing that I didn't record about this car that I need to show you guys right now. That was also one of the main issues. Step one, if you guys are having idle problems, check your vacuum. Check for all vacuum leaks, knock all that stuff out. There was a huge tear in one of the tubes coming off of the idle control valve. That tear, huge vacuum leak, obviously. Also, do not buy an aftermarket map. Stick with OEM. Buy one used off of Facebook Marketplace or eBay or something like that, because aftermarket ones, not good. Tip that comes from the pros up at German Autosport. There was something that I didn't address in those initial recordings when I was going through all this, and that is the idle adjustment screw, which is right here. What I was doing is I was actually adjusting the cables on the backside for the throttle, which isn't necessarily a solution. Idle adjustment screw pushes this out. Car runs great now, idle's great. I'd beat the shit out of this thing, honestly. There's been lots more done to it since we recorded that initial stuff. Stay tuned, you guys are gonna see. Up next, we're doing an angle kit. We're doing subframe reinforcement. You can see there's some damage here. Unintentionally drifting, but I'll go over all that in those future episodes. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you've got one of these cars, or if you've got a car that's having some of those idle issues, best of luck tracking it down. It's definitely more solvable than if you're chasing electrical issues, but it can also get to the point where you're kind of chasing a ghost. Just make sure you're replacing all your gaskets, all your rubber lines, all your O-rings, making sure your vacuum is sealed. Hope you guys enjoyed this one though. If you did, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. If you guys aren't subscribed, you want to see future content on this thing, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon also, so it sends you notifications of future uploads and activity. Don't forget to grab a wrench. It's just nuts and bolts. Don't let this stuff intimidate you guys. I literally knew nothing about the whole vacuum system of these cars or how to replace a fuel pressure regulator or anything that I've done. I've never done it before, and you guys are witnessing it as I learn it. So don't let it intimidate you guys. Literally, it's just nuts and bolts. Everybody can do this stuff. The knowledge is out there. You just got to go get it. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.